something that I had to do by my father because it was his dream that he finds his son also a musician. But then when I was about 15 years old, I really connected with the guitar, and I started playing guitar ever since. And eventually, during university days, I formed a band with a couple of friends of mine. I don't think you know us. I mean, barely anyone in our hometown knew us. But we actually enjoyed just like playing music together and performing. And then this happened. So after university, this happened. And I always had this dream within me that I really want to be a musician. I felt I have it. I felt I have, whenever I play music, people connect with what I have to share. But soon enough, just like many of our dreams that some of us might have that get drowned by the corporate world, I started thinking that this is not a reality. And I soon enough joined a multinational American IT company, one of the biggest IT companies. I was doing sales there. I really enjoyed it, but at the same time, I had this haunting dream, basically, that I want to be a musician. And then soon enough, I was on a business trip in Prague. And while I was in this magical city, so I was near Prague Castle. For anyone who's visited Prague, maybe it's even clear here. I don't think it is. I was there, and then I could hear this amazing, mysterious sound, and I couldn't tell what type of music it is. I couldn't tell if it's a guitar, if it's a piano, I couldn't tell what. It was different than anything that I've ever heard. But what I know is that it really touched me that day. And I kept following the sound, trying to know where is this sound coming from. And soon enough, I got led into one of the alleys in Prague. And at some moment, I was completely alone. And I found this about 75-year-old young man. And he was sitting down, and he had this strange instrument in his hand, and he was playing with it. And I just stood there, and I like enjoyed the moment. There was like a magical moment at that time. Something inside opened up. And when he was done, I'm like, okay, how much? Dubai style. No, in reality, when he was done, I was super excited. I knew that this was one thing I was gonna do. I asked him if I could possibly try it, and guess what? The minute I started playing, the first minute I touched it, I immediately started composing songs. I feel, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit romantic, but I feel that I was basically meant to do this. Everything that I've done in my life, whether the music that I've performed, or my musical background, or anything that I've done on the music world, it led me to that point. So I started asking him a couple of questions, and then he had to go, unfortunately. And I couldn't really get to know, like, what is it about this instrument and to understand a little bit more about it. This is what it looks like, by the way. I know it looks like a spaceship or like a walk, but it was a big question to me. But I got to know one thing from that man before he leaves, is that he bought it from Switzerland in Bern. And I was supposed to spend the weekend in Prague, but I changed the plans. So I'm like, I'm going to Bern. I'm going to find out more about this instrument. I'm going to buy one from over there. And then I started my research, and I found out that it was invented recently by a company called Pan Art, which is basically a musical instruments company that makes instruments from pans. Yeah. And I got to know a little bit more that it's actually an evolution of a very old instrument called the steel pan, which is from Trinidad and Tobago. So this, maybe you've seen this before. It's pretty familiar in reggae type of music, and it's got a very cheerful, soulful type of sound. And it started in the 1880s. So Felix and Sabina Rohner, they were really into reggae music, and they were really into the steel pan musical environment. And then they basically asked themselves one simple question, which led them to the HandPan. So they asked, how can we make a steel pan that we can play with our hands instead of mallets? Very simple question, right? So although the instrument existed for ages, for about 200 years, or even more, about 250 years actually, nobody asked this simple question of, how can I make one that I can just play with my hands instead of the mallets? And they started in 1993 with the concept. So they asked themselves this question in 1993, and they kept working on it for 7 years straight. All right? It was their dream to make a steel pan where you can play with your hand. And eventually in 2000, the HandPan came to birth, which is a super special instrument, in my eyes at least. And then what I found out before booking the tickets to Bern is that in 2013, they decided they will not produce the instrument anymore. Imagine you created something out of scratch, and you are the best person who can make this, and then you suddenly decide you will not do this anymore. There's a lot of question marks. Nobody really understands the true reasons. It's still kept to themselves. Yet, what we know is that some of the values that both Felix and Sabina stand up to is that they are against mass production. They are against standardization. A lot of things that they really stand up for, and they think that they're really advocates for small businesses, and they want the business world to be more personalized. So this is what I at least understood from their story. So my search began for the instrument, because now Pan Art doesn't produce it anymore. So the first thing that I thought, I'm like, okay, there gotta be a Chinese replica somehow. And surprisingly, there isn't a single person in China that produces hand drums until very recently. So, but I found about 20 other people at that time who make handpans, and I started spamming them day and night. I want one, I want one, I want, and no one's replying to me, all right? Until finally the answer came from Colombia. Finally, yeah. So I actually traveled all the way from Dubai to Colombia to buy a musical instrument. It was very hard to describe and explain this to my parents, but this is what it was. Everyone thought I was going for different purposes, but no. And this is why I actually went all this way, because what I experienced afterwards for a couple of months until I was able to put my hand on my first handpan is that I felt a feeling of separation. I felt, it was like a love story, seriously, okay? It's like someone I know, after the moment that I met this guy, someone that I know who was very dear to me, and he disappeared from my life. Or she disappeared from my life. And so this is how really I really wanted it. And this is the picture from, yeah, in Colombia in 2015 when I first got my first handpan. Yeah, I don't know if I was crying before it or not, but yeah, this is it. And ever since, I really delved into the world of handpan. It's something that I do on a daily basis. People ask me, how frequently do you practice? For me, I don't think that I'm practicing, honestly. It's just something that happens really naturally and that I absolutely love. So ever since I started performing, I performed in about 10 different countries in about five different continents. And I started off with my brand, basically. Let me tell you a story before that. People would usually come to me after my performance and they would tell me, like I would get many different types of feedbacks. Someone would tell me, you really touched my heart. Someone would tell me, like I feel this music really enters my soul. I think the best feedback that I got is someone came up to me after a performance. He's like, I just feel that half of the problems in my life disappeared. So this is what I'm trying to do. So I established the brand Panspiration, where I'm basically trying to inspire people in many different aspects with a pan. And would you like to see the instrument?
Yeah.
By any chance? Yeah? Okay. Tamer, I might need your help with the... Yeah. So this is what it looks like. This is for you, that's for you. All right. Okay.
Forward.
I think it's a bit high, it needs feedback side. All right. So,
You are a devil.
sorry?
You are a devil.
Adele?
Devil.
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 Devil. Oh yeah. Cool. All right. So actually, so where's that? So actually, so if you want to connect, by the way, so this is my Instagram account. If you want to connect afterwards, so it's if you search Panspiration, you're gonna find it there. And just one last thing that I wanted to, two last things that I want to share with you actually. First is basically some of the basic features of a HandPan basically, all right? So what makes a HandPan so special, all right? So there's a couple of things, I'll choose just the main ones that stand out. So sympathetic resonance is one of the things, one of the magic things about HandPans is basically when you play on one note, and then another note activates and makes a slight sound in the background. It gives this magical feeling. It gives, the mind can't really interpret what is happening here. You get what I mean? So this is why the mind relaxes and kind of like submits to the sound. Sustain is one of the other things as well. As you notice, the sound, it takes like a long time where the sound is still on. Harmonic sounds is also one of the main things about it. And then last thing I can maybe also share this with you. So the HandPan is both, it's both a melodic instrument and a percussive instrument at the same time. So you can play something, for example, like, which is melody, right? But you can add also, percussion at the same time. So it's a mix of both. And then the last three aspects, which is the ding and the sound of the track, maybe first, which helps also contribute to the beat. It's also one of the things that makes the HandPan special and a different sound. Excuse me. Yeah. So, and just one more thing. It's made out of steel. So the reason there's only a few people who make it worldwide is that it's all handmade, and to make that sound just from steel is a magical process. And not a lot of people were able to capture it, and this is why there's not even a Chinese replica until now, except for one person, a friend of mine actually. So yeah, it's made out of steel. The circles that you see around it is basically the notes. So when I tap the notes, it makes the sound, the music that you hear. And before I leave you off, so just to share with you, I dropped off from my corporate job because this dream has been haunting me for some time. And I think I'll be doing this for some time as well, just to build it and to fulfill at least my dream on this level. But I think honestly, I will be back to the corporate world, I'll be back to the business world because I also love that one. I know it's sometimes many of us have different talents and different passions in life, and sometimes they feel, oh, I wish I can just drop off from my job and do this. And now that I'm on the other side of the world, yeah, I'm saying I think I would want to be back, and I also enjoy doing business. So I'll be eventually back again. And before we end, we'd like to leave you also with one final song, and we'd like to actually observe Earth Hour. So, Earth Hour maybe it passed, yes, but we will still observe it. And we'll be playing one last song. So, Tamer, if we can dim the lights a little bit, and yeah. All right, so you take just a few seconds to really live in the moment and take in the sound of the waves and really connect with that.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. I just want to jump in with the questions with the audience. Any questions, anyone? This gentleman over here.
Are these books both the same or are they different?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So handpans are an addiction. It was my dream just to get one, and at some point I had 13 handpans. Now there are only 8. So the reason why you would need sometimes more than one handpan is that it's all custom made, and the notes that are around the handpan are basically custom made. So there are infinite possibilities. So one handpan, I don't know if you've noticed, this one has a more like an oriental feel. The music is more kind of, usually people tell me they would think it's kind of like somewhere from Southeast Asia or sometimes like African. With this one, it's more cheerful, more bright. I don't know if you noticed. So yeah, this is why I need more than one. Yeah.
Origin?
Sorry? Origin. So the people who invented it are from Switzerland. Yeah, but it's an evolution of a Caribbean steel pan.
How much does it cost?
How much does it cost? It's an important question. So just like any musical instrument, there is a range for it. So you can, for instance, buy a violin for, like, let's say, how much? $200, $300? And he just shared with me today that there's a violin actually that's sold for $17 million. Yes? Only 16. Only $16 million, yeah. So yeah, so here's the thing. It's also the same with handpans, basically, is that it depends on the quality. You can get one for a cheap price, you can get one for an expensive price. So yeah.
Okay.
Yes?
Will you be playing only on one, or can you do more than one at the same time?
Very good question. Yeah. So some of the notes do complement each other. So sometimes, so for instance, the gray one has 2 notes that complement the brown one. So it enriches it definitely when you combine more. I personally, sometimes when I'm at home, I sometimes play with 3 at the same time. Yeah, I want to start using my feet eventually also to see if I can do more than that.
So you can't keep it on a stand or something, it won't give you the same effect?
It will, yes. I sometimes perform standing on stand basically, and sometimes sitting down. Yeah. So everything that I play today is my songs basically. So it's my compositions. Pre-composed. I was preparing for this talk for the last 2 years now. Yeah. So my background is more, I would say, Western. And I don't know if you've heard a little bit of Backstreet Boys in what I was playing, but I would say my main influence is Western, yet at the same time, my father, as I mentioned, he plays ney. A couple of also cousins and relatives, they also are musicians who play Arabic or Oriental music, so I'm also influenced a little bit by that.
Nuances you talked about, the saxophone music, that's Indian classical music.
Yeah.
Is it similar to Arabic music? But the sound was beautiful, especially it's very special because it has the sound of 2 instruments.
Yes. Yes.
It's really interesting, it's beautiful.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you.
I think my friend Hilda wants a question.
More. Will you just tell us what's the longest time you've played and what's the celebrity you want to perform with?
I think I'm gonna play with Adele.
Repeat that again. That sounds like a big question. So he's talking like, what did he say?
Are you the devil?
Sorry.
What celebrity you wanna play with?
What's the longest period of time you've played, whether by yourself, whether on public on this instrument? How long you can be in all this magical moment? How long?
So now I never watch a movie at home except with the instrument in my hand. All right. So we're talking about an average of 2 hours, and usually after the movie finishes, I'm still going on. So this is something that I do, and this is why almost I don't understand any movie I'm watching these days. But And what's your second
And
question?
what's the celebrity you want to collaborate with? Definitely they will find you soon.
Coldplay.
Be careful. They will find you
Okay, this last question from Hilda.
He said Coldplay.
Yeah. The first one that they invented was actually almost this big. It was huge. And then they tried to decrease the size as much as possible. Now there are mainly two sizes. So there's this size. I can't remember. It's about 50-inch diameter or something like that. Maybe Dylan can help me with that one. And there is a little bit smaller size, and I have one also of these, which is absolutely also fun to play. And they're very, very special.